Welcome to Student Hire Representative Training for the University of South Carolina. As a Student Hire Representative, you are responsible for hiring student employees in your area. Today, we will be walking you through the applicable guidelines and requirements of student employment that you should be aware of.
You can find everything included in this training and more on the Division of Human Resources website under Student Employment. There's a link specifically for student hire representatives that has wonderful tools and job aids for everything you need to hire students in your office. We highly recommend that you take time to familiarize yourself with this website, as it will be a useful resource for you to come back to. We've also included the list of job codes here, which you will use to determine how the student you are hiring needs to be classified as in PeopleSoft. In addition, as a student hire representative, you will also have access to the Student Hire Work Center available in PeopleSoft HCM. This Work Center is complete with any news and updates that student hiring representatives need to know, and also has reports that you can run for all of your student hiring and organizational needs. These reports will allow you to keep up with which students have completed their onboarding, which students are active or inactive, which students need to submit any hiring forms, and so on. It also includes helpful job aids with reminders on how to submit graduate and undergraduate student hiring, work study hiring, as well as status changes for students. Everything you need to successfully hire all student types can be found in this Work Center. Here you will find our student employment guidelines. All student employees are categorized as temporary employees, as they are not full-time staff or faculty. Because South Carolina is an at-will state, the university can generally terminate a student employee at any time for any reason. Similarly, student employees can generally quit their jobs at any time for any reason without providing notice to their employer. The last day that a student is eligible to work is their commencement or graduation date. Once students graduate, they are no longer students at the university and therefore unable to continue working as a student employee. These guidelines are governed by University HR Policy 1.86, which we highly recommend you familiarize yourself with. In addition, there is a graduate assistant policy and includes information on tuition supplements and graduate salaries. Additionally, we will also be discussing hiring timelines and requirements for international students and federal work study students.
One of the toughest parts to submitting student hires is determining someone's eligibility to be hired as a student employee. Different student employee types have different eligibility requirements, so be sure to check on your student's eligibility before submitting their hire. Our undergraduate student employees are required to be enrolled in at least 6 credit hours during the fall and spring semesters. During the summertime, undergraduates are eligible to be hired as student employees if they are enrolled in summer courses, or if they were enrolled in the spring semester and are enrolled for the upcoming fall semester. They are permitted to work up to 40 hours per week. Our graduate students are a bit different, as some of our graduate students are hired with assistantships. Those graduate students without assistantship must be enrolled in at least 1 credit hour during the fall and spring semesters, while there is no enrollment requirement during the summer. They are permitted to work up to 40 hours per week. For those graduate students with assistantships, they must be enrolled in at least 6 credit hours during the fall and spring semesters and 3 credit hours during the summer. If a graduate student with assistantship who is enrolled in less than the required credit hours wishes to work, they must have their Z status approved by the graduate school before they can begin working. Those with assistantship are permitted to work up to 20 hours per week. They can appeal to the graduate school to work up to 25 hours during the fall and spring semesters or 28 during the summer. International students will follow the same enrollment requirements as their U.S. national counterparts. However, they are only permitted to work up to 20 hours per week during the academic terms. On official school breaks, i.e. the winter, the spring, they can work up to 40 hours per week. Work study students have the same requirements as their counterparts except during the summer. To use work study funds for student employment in the summer, students must be enrolled in summer courses or obtain approval from the financial aid office. Like other employees of USC, an I-9 must be completed for student employees to verify their employment eligibility. This is a federal requirement. Each department has 1 or more designated authorized I-9 representatives. This may be you. Ensure you coordinate with your representative to ensure that I-9s are completed for student hires in a timely manner. I-9s will require original documentation. Our recommendation is to let students know during their interview process that their original documents are needed should they be hired. The first section of the I-9 must be completed by the student by the end of their first working day. The student must present documentation to the authorized I-9 representative to complete the second section of the I-9 form by the end of their third working day. If the I-9 is not completed by the third working day, the student should not be permitted to continue working.
Background checks are processed via the University Background Check Department. They must be completed for student employees who handle money, work with unenrolled minors, have direct patient care, or have key access. Once determined that a student requires a background check, reach out to the Background Check Department to see if the student already has one on file. Background checks are valid for a period of 3 years. If the student requires a new background check, the background check request form must be completed, signed, and emailed to background@sc.edu. The Background Check Department will initiate the check to the student via email. Students have 5 days to complete the background check before the link expires. When hiring students in PeopleSoft, you will be able to see automatically if a student has a federal work study award or not. This financial aid is awarded directly to the student and not any hiring department. The hiring department still must pay 25% of the student's salary, and the federal government pays the other 75%. It's always a good idea to check to see if the student has been hired in another area and may be using their work study award for another job on campus before applying it to the one you are hiring for. Work study awards must be earned and cannot be directly applied to tuition. Pay close attention to the work study award start and end dates on the financial aid website, as student awards cannot be used before or after these dates.
USC has students from all over the world, so you will occasionally, or maybe frequently, hire international student employees in your area. The hiring process remains the same, but there are additional items that you must consider. Students need a social security number to work at USC. International students may not have one at the time of their hire, which is okay. If they don't have one, they will need to apply to obtain one. They will need to apply to the Social Security Administration by completing the online Social Security Card application. They will need to provide proof of employment, which is from the hiring office and stamped by ISSS, their passport, I-94, I-20, and any other applicable immigration documents. In the meantime, students can begin working while waiting for their Social Security card. Once they have received their Social Security number, they will need to meet with the authorized I-9 representative so that the I-9 process can be completed. You will also need digital copies of their immigration documents to complete their hire form, including the Payroll Foreign National Tax Form, their passport, visa, and Form I-20. Graduate student employees are unique and have their own job codes, which differ from the undergraduate ones. There are specific job codes for positions with assistantship, without, and for which federal work study funds will be used. Be sure to check out the full list to determine the best code for your student hire. Reach out to your HR contact for additional help. Graduate student employees who do not have assistantship are hired as hourly student employees. Be sure to hire your graduate student employees at least the $15 campus-wide minimum wage.
Once the student has been successfully hired in PeopleSoft HCM, the student and the employee who submitted the student's hire will receive a welcome email from PeopleSoft. This email is the equivalent of the student's offer letter and confirms all details of their hire, including start and end dates, pay rate, hours per week, and who their assigned supervisor is. It also includes information regarding the university pay lag and information about the background check process should the student need one presently or in the future. The link provided under the payroll system information will take students to the HCM portal login, where they will be able to begin their electronic onboarding process. It is important to remember that even if the student receives the welcome email before their start date, they will not be able to complete these onboarding tasks until their hire becomes active on their start date. Students must complete all steps in the onboarding process to ensure their hire is complete and that there is no delay in pay for the student. Most importantly, students must enter their direct deposit information as well as complete their state and federal W-4s. Supervisors and HR contacts are not permitted to give any financial advice to students as they complete this process.
Our student employees are paid semi-monthly, typically on the 15th and the last date of the month. This may vary due to calendar variations or holidays. All students are paid on a lag, meaning that earnings for the first half of the month are not paid until the end of the month, and the earnings for the second half of the month are not paid until the following month on the 15th. It is critical that timesheets are submitted and approved before payroll deadlines to ensure that students are paid accurately and on time. View the payroll schedule on the payroll department website or the HR toolbox to see pay period end dates and timesheet deadlines. Consider forwarding the schedule to any student hires or their supervisors to make them aware. Now that we have discussed what is required for student employees, let's look at actually completing their hire in our system. Student hires are initiated via the ePath homepage in PeopleSoft HCM. You can locate the student by searching for their full name or USC ID. Students can be identified by the purple banner above their name. Once you have successfully located your student, click on the Related Actions menu to the right of their name. From there, you will have the option to initiate the student hire by clicking on Student Hire. As a special note, you will not be able to initiate hire forms for USC students who are not located on your campus. Those are done through a manual hiring process. Reach out to your HR contact to help initiate a student hire for any situation as such. The first step in initiating the hire is to verify the student's employment eligibility. Basic information is provided at the top of the hire form. Pay special attention to the citizenship status and note any potential restrictions to the number of hours that the students can work per week or the number of credit hours that they should be enrolled in to work as a student employee. Current and future enrollment is displayed to help you determine eligibility. Additionally, if a student has been awarded work-study funds, those will appear at the top of the form. You will be given the option to apply those work-study funds to your hire or to not. The final thing that you should check before beginning your student hire is to verify that your appointment will not put your student above any limits on how many hours they can work per week. If applicable, other active jobs will display on the hire form. There, you can see where your student employee is working on campus and how many hours they are working. Be sure that your appointment will not cause your student to work more hours than they are allowed. Once you have verified eligibility, you will get to the hire information section. Here, you will include basic details about the appointment. All fields are required except for the internal title field. Although it does not have to be completed, we highly recommend that you do so. This will allow your students to easily identify their job when they are completing their timesheets. If you leave this field blank, you will need to acknowledge this via a prompt at the bottom of the form. You will need to provide accounting information for all student appointments. Click Select Chart String to input this information. You can search by combination code or individual fields in the Accounting Information tab. Please be sure you are using the correct accounting by confirming with your business manager or leadership. Please note that if you opt to use federal work-study funds, a second line will automatically appear on your accounting information that is pre-filled with accounting info for 75% of the total distribution. Do not edit this line, just update the empty line with your funding that your department will be used to support the position. There will be a background check acknowledgement on the form. In this field, you will acknowledge if a background check is required. Please answer yes if your student has duties that include handling money, working with minors, direct patient care, or include key access. If you answer yes, you will need to handle verifying and/or obtaining a background check for the student employee via the background check team. Reach out to your HR contact for assistance in this process. There's also an I-9 status acknowledgement on the Hire E-form. Acknowledge the I-9 status of the student employee by selecting one of the three options. The first is future dated hire. You are submitting a future dated appointment and will complete the I-9 at the time of hire. The second is the I-9 verified as current. There is already a valid I-9 on file for the student employee and there has not been a gap of 1 year or more in employment. The third and final option is new case created. You have initiated a new I-9 case for the student employee after verifying that one is needed. This section is only an acknowledgement. The I-9 process must be handled independently of the Hire E-form. The final section of the Hire E-form is for file attachments. Attachments are only required for international student employees and include the Foreign National Tax Information Form and supporting immigration documents. Please note that you can combine all supporting immigration documents into one file, preferably PDF, and include in the attachments. Once you have uploaded documents, if necessary, double check your work, Complete any acknowledgments and submit your hire e-form. Although we plan as best as possible, things change and you may need to change details about your student appointment. Through the Student Job Change e-form, we can modify previously submitted active hires. We can change most aspects of the appointment, including department, location, supervisor, internal title, hours per week, expected end date, and compensation. Please note that you will not be able to change the job code or account funding via this form. If you need to change the job code, you will need to terminate the student appointment and rehire them with the correct code. Account fund changes are a role that is given through the controller's office. If you do not have this role in HCM, contact your business manager or leadership to change account funding for a student hire. The last action that we can take on a student hire is to end an appointment early, what we refer to as a termination. This is done via the Student Status Change e-form. This form allows you to update the last date that a student employee will work. You only need to utilize this form when your student hire will end their appointment earlier than expected. All student appointments will terminate automatically on the end date listed on the hire form unless modified. Now, let's walk through the steps to initiate a student hire. From the Employee Self-Service landing page, navigate to My Homepage. Next, locate the ePath homepage tile. From the ePath homepage landing, you can locate the student you wish to hire via their name or USC ID. Once you have located the student you wish to hire, click the Related Actions menu next to their name and select Student Hire. In the Student Information and Current and Future Enrollment sections, you will see details about the student and their enrollment. Please ensure that they meet any eligibility requirements. In the Other Active Job section, you will see any other active employment that the student has on campus. Please ensure that your student appointment will not put the student above any applicable limit. In the Hire Information section, you will enter the details of the student appointment. After you have entered the details of the student appointment, you will need to provide account funding information. You can add multiple lines using the plus button and remove lines as needed using the minus button. Please ensure that the funding distribution total equals 100%. In the background check section, you will need to verify if the student will require a background check. Please remember that background checks are required for students who handle money, work with minors, are involved in direct patient care, or who have key access. In the I-9 verification section, you will need to select the status of the student I-9. Future dated hire indicates that the hire is future dated and the I-9 will be verified at the time of hire. I-9 verified as current means that there's a valid I-9 case on file for the student that you wish to hire. Finally, new case created means that you have created a new I-9 case for that student. If any attachments are required for your student hire, they will appear in the File Attachment section with a red exclamation point. Once you have reviewed all of the details of your student hire form, you can navigate to the bottom and hit Submit. This concludes our demonstration.
Thank you so much for watching this Student Hire Representative training. If you have additional questions or concerns, please reach out to an HR contact in your area or the HR trainer. Thank you.